deep, grave, authoritative, and investigative. We believe the countdown began in 1945, when J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, watched the first nuclear fireball consume the New Mexico desert. He did not quote a physics textbook. He quoted an ancient Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. But there is a story about Oppenheimer that is rarely told. 7 years later, at a university lecture, a student asked him a terrifying question. Was the bomb exploded at Alamogordo the first one to be detonated? Oppenheimer paused. He looked down, and he said, "Yes, in modern times." What did he know? Across our planet, there are scars that should not exist. We find sand melted into glass by heat that no wood fire can produce. We find ancient fortresses fused by temperatures hotter than the sun. And we find cities filled with the dead who died holding hands, struck down by an invisible poison. We are taught that we are the first to master the atom, but the evidence suggests we are simply the first to do it again. This is 0 Point Lore, and today we are investigating the 5 impossible scars of an ancient nuclear war. Number 5. The Shadows of Mohenjo-daro. In 1922, deep in the Sindh province of Pakistan, archaeologists uncovered a city that broke all the rules. Mohenjo-daro, the Mound of the Dead. It was a metropolis of the Indus Valley civilization, highly advanced, peaceful, organized, and then, in a single instant, it ended. When excavators cleared the streets, they found something that chilled them to the bone. They found skeletons, not buried in graves, not killed in battle, but lying in the streets. They were found sprawling on steps, reaching out for each other, holding hands. There were no signs of sword marks, no signs of struggle. No scavengers had dragged the bodies away. They simply stopped. It was a moment of instant death. But the mystery gets darker. In the 1970s, disturbing reports emerged from researchers investigating the site. They claimed that some of these skeletons measured radioactivity levels 50 times higher than normal. These levels were comparable to the bodies found in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At the site's epicenter, there is an area where the brick walls are fused and vitrified, turned to glass. Geologists know to melt clay brick like this, you need a temperature of over 1,500 degrees Celsius. An open fire burns at 600 degrees. A kiln burns at 900 degrees. What kind of primitive weapon generates the heat of a star and leaves behind the invisible fingerprint of radiation? The bodies of Mohenjo-daro are not war casualties. They are evidence of a flash that came from the sky. Number 4. The Glass Fortresses of Scotland. We travel now to the rugged highlands of Scotland. Here, scattering the landscape, are the ruins of over 60 ancient forts. Dundigdal, Toponoth, Finnavon. To the casual observer, they are just piles of rock. But look closer. The walls are not held together by mortar, they are fused. These are the vitrified forts. The granite blocks have been melted, turned into obsidian-like glass, merging them into a single solid mass. Here is the 0-point problem. Granite does not melt until it reaches 1,100 degrees Celsius, and to vitrify a massive wall 10 feet thick, you need to maintain that temperature for days. The official story is that enemies set fire to the wooden beams in the walls. Modern chemists have tried to replicate this. They built models, they burned them with wood. They failed. A wood fire simply cannot generate the sustained intense heat required to liquefy granite on this scale. It requires a flash heat, a thermal shock. In the 20th century, we have seen this phenomenon only once, when the first atomic bomb was tested in New Mexico. The heat was so intense it melted the desert sand into a layer of green glass called trinitite. The walls of the Scottish forts look exactly like vertical trinitite. Was this a siege, or was it a target practice for a weapon that could boil stone? Number 3. The Jewel of the Apocalypse. In the heart of the Great Sand Sea, straddling the border of Egypt and Libya, lies a mystery scattered across thousands of square miles. It is called Libyan desert glass. It is the purest natural silica glass ever found on Earth, hundreds of tons of it. For centuries, it was used as a gemstone. In fact, the centerpiece of the pectoral worn by King Tutankhamun himself is not chalcedony, as was long believed. It is carved from this desert glass. But where did it come from? To create glass from sand, you need to heat it to 1,600 degrees Celsius instantly. There is no volcano here. There is no impact crater from a meteorite. The sand is simply cooked. Science calls this an airburst, a meteor entering the atmosphere and detonating before it hits the ground, unleashing a fireball that scorches the earth beneath it, just like the Tunguska event of 1908. But an airburst is also the exact mechanism of a nuclear weapon. When a nuclear bomb detonates at the optimal altitude, it maximizes the thermal radiation, melting the city or the desert beneath it without leaving a crater. Is the Libyan desert glass the result of a wandering rock? Or is it the glass parking lot left behind by a war that scorched the sky 12,000 years before the pharaohs? Number 2. The report of the Brahmostra. If these physical scars are the crime scene, then the ancient texts of India are the witness testimony. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana are epic poems thousands of years old. We are told they are mythology, fiction. But listen to this description of a weapon called the Brahmostra, and ask yourself what ancient poet could imagine this. A single projectile charged with all the power of the universe. An incandescent column of smoke and flame, as bright as the thousand suns, rose in all its splendor. It continues. It was an unknown weapon, an iron thunderbolt, a gigantic messenger of death which reduced to ashes the entire race of the Vrishnis and the Andakas. The text describes the aftermath with chilling medical precision. The corpses were so burned as to be unrecognizable. The hair and nails fell out. Pottery broke without cause, and the birds turned white. After a few hours, all foodstuffs were infected. Hair loss, nail loss, food contamination. These are not the symptoms of fire. These are the clinical symptoms of acute radiation sickness. How did a writer 4,000 years ago know the specific biological effects of nuclear fallout unless they had seen it? Number 1. The fallout shelter. We return to a mystery we have touched on before. The underground city of Derinkuyu in Turkey, 18 stories deep, capable of holding 20,000 people with ventilation shafts, fresh water, and livestock stables. The official story is that they were hiding from enemy armies, but armies eventually leave. Armies do not poison the air. Why build a city that can be sealed from the inside with massive multi-ton stone wheels? Why build a complex air filtration system? You do not hide underground for months or years to escape a sword. You hide underground to escape the air. Derinkuyu has all the architectural features of a modern fallout shelter. It is a place designed to wait out a nuclear winter, to wait for the dust and the isotopes to settle. Were the builders of Derinkuyu the terrified survivors of the war described in the Mahabharata? Did they dig into the rock because the surface of the earth had become a radioactive hell? The physicist J.R. Robert Oppenheimer knew the truth. He knew that the atomic age was not a new chapter, it was a rerun. We are not the first civilization to unlock the power of the atom, but the ruins suggest we might be the next to be destroyed by it. The evidence is etched in the vitrified stone and the radioactive bone. History is a circle, and the most terrifying thing about a circle is that it has no end. We are 0 Point Lore. We explore the history they don't want you to know. What do you think? Was ancient Earth a nuclear battlefield? Or are these anomalies just coincidences? Let us know your theory in the comments below, and subscribe before the clock strikes 0 again.